The Kentucky Senate will be holding an impeachment trial against a Fayette County Circuit Court judge immediately after sine die. This week, Franklin Circuit Court Judge Philip Shepard issued a ruling that the court believes nullifies the resolution passed by the Kentucky House impeaching Judge Julie Goodman on misdemeanor offenses, alleging abuse of judicial discretion and authority in 6 cases tried before her. Shepard wrote that he believes the charges are political and do not meet the definition of a misdemeanor, writing, "The court finds the articles of impeachment are fatally defective and that the legislature has limited power to impeach judges for their judicial rulings and matters entrusted to the Judicial Conduct Commission. These points over whether the conduct meets the definition of a misdemeanor and if the House has the authority to impeach in this instance are both discussed in the impeachment resolution's lengthy debate."
So while there is a Judicial Conduct Commission, and there was also a way to remove judges internally to the judiciary before, so while there is a Judicial Conduct Commission, this House's impeachment powers remain inviolate.
I don't believe that when a judge fails to follow binding precedent, that is impeachable conduct. And as you've heard this morning, that is much of what is in the articles of impeachment against Judge Goodman.
The Senate was not a party to the lawsuit, so the ruling did not necessarily affect its role in holding a trial, which is now set for April 16th. Jason, I'll start here with you. Based on just your own legal thinking here, do you think Judge Shepard had the authority to make the ruling that he did?
I'll say this. I don't follow impeachments of judges. I do electoral politics. But I did watch the Fayette County attorney's testimony, and I thought it was incredibly compelling, and I would encourage your viewers to watch that. Talking about the ways in which their office needs to prepare for cases in front of that judge is important for them to understand, just because that's one of the reasons why they've brought these proceedings against her. Secondly, the Senate has its own rules and they should follow them. Skirting outside of those, I wouldn't like. But if the Senate believes it's something they should be doing, then absolutely they should do it. And I think it would happen on both sides if they had a feeling that this is something that they should pull together. My hope is, though, that the judge is able to defend herself, and she's not right now. And she's not able to do that because of the judicial ethics that she's applying to herself. And I think that's problematic for the case that Jason Nemes is trying to wage against her. She can't defend herself, and I think that's problematic.
Andy, your thoughts?
Like Jason, I'm not an attorney, I'm a layman, so, I'm going to give it my best shot with this, but, there's some real questions about whether or not she willfully ignored, sentencing guidelines for a individual that was caught with, I think, 74 grams of fentanyl. It just basically has taken almost like an activist position on a lot of her sentencing guidelines. There was also an individual that, she was trying to say on a technicality she was going to overturn a murder conviction and then sentence the guy, I think, to home incarceration. One thing that I will say, Judge Shepard did not put an injunction stopping this. So ultimately, this will go up to the Supreme Court. They're going to rule on it. The powers of impeachment are clearly defined. That does rest with the House, and they're responsible for prosecuting it. I think it's not a clear-cut idea of what exactly is going to happen. I think that's going to play out here in the coming weeks, but I would expect this to be, kicked up to the state Supreme Court.
We only have a minute left here, y'all, so I'm going to try and squeeze this question in real quick, which is, there was a lot more political consideration that was made in Judge Shepard's ruling. He referenced Killian Timoney being on the ballot to get his old seat back in the House. He is who filed that impeachment petition. The father-son relationship between Representative Nemes and Senator Nemes, Representative Nemes being the one who led the inquiry. Any thoughts on how politics could ultimately influence
Adam
this?
Moore voted in favor of the impeachment, so there's bipartisan support for removing her. Anybody can latch on to partisan politics and say this and that, and try to twist it and morph it into what fits the narrative. But I think there were some serious questions. Also open hostility with prosecutors and whatnot. So I think that I don't necessarily agree with that, but we will see.
Last word here, just a few seconds.
Yeah, Jason Nemes is one of the least liked state representatives in Jefferson County, so I was surprised that they chose him as a person to lead this effort. I would hope that they would find somebody else to do it that's more believable and has a little bit more authority for the purposes of running forward with it.
All right. Thank you both for the good discussion. We'll be back in just a bit.